All right, today we are diving into the incredible machinery that powers your arms. And I'll give you a little spoiler. The real secret to a powerful throw or a strong push, it doesn't actually start in your arm at all. Nope, it starts right here, in your torso. So let's get into the mighty anchors that make it all possible.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on inside your body when you see a pitcher throw a fastball, or even something simple like waving to a friend? Where does that movement, that power, actually come from? Well, the answer isn't just in the arm itself. It's all about how that arm is anchored to the rest of your body. And the way it works is honestly pretty amazing.
That's right. The true source of your arm's strength and stability comes from these large, powerful muscles in your chest and your back. You can think of them like mighty anchors, giving you a solid foundation for every single thing you do with your arms. Let's start our tour right at the front.
Okay, first up, we're exploring the chest powerhouse. These are the muscles of what we call the pectoral region. And believe me, they're the main engine for any pushing motion your arm makes.
And here's the star of the show, the pectoralis major. This is the big one, the muscle most people just call the pecs. And you can see from its shape why it's so powerful. It's this massive, fan-shaped sheet of muscle that covers your whole upper chest, making it a prime mover for a huge range of arm movements.
Okay, let's break this down for a second. Just look at where this thing originates. It anchors all the way from your collarbone, down your breastbone, and even attaches to your upper ribs. Then all those fibers come together and funnel down to this one single point on your upper arm bone. It's this brilliant fan-shaped design that gives it such incredible leverage for pushing things away from you.
So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it means the pec major is the hero in any pushing motion. We're talking about doing a push-up or even just pushing a heavy door open. It's also the muscle that lets you give a big hug, bringing your arm right across your body. It is the engine for pure forward power. But, the pec major doesn't work alone. Tucked away just underneath it are two smaller but really critical muscles. Now, these guys don't move the arm directly, but they do something maybe even more important. They position the shoulder, which is the very platform the arm has to move from. And this is where it gets really clever. These muscles are all about getting the shoulder in the right spot. You can see in the table, the pectoralis minor runs from your ribs up to a little hook on your shoulder blade, and it helps pull your shoulder forward and down. Meanwhile, this tiny little subclavius muscle acts like a stabilizer for your collarbone, just holding it steady. They're like the setup crew, making sure the stage is perfectly set before the main show, the arm movement, begins. All right, let's swing around to the back, because if the chest muscles are our pushers, then the muscles connecting the arm to the spine are, you guessed it, the powerful pullers. These are the engines that power actions like rowing, climbing, and pulling anything and everything towards you.
And you literally cannot miss this one. This is the trapezius, or traps, as most people call it. It's this huge muscle right on the surface that forms a massive diamond shape all across your upper back. I mean, it stretches from the base of your skull all the way out to your shoulders and way down your mid-back. It's enormous.
And would you just look at that origin? It anchors from the base of the skull all the way down the upper and mid-spine. From there, it reaches out and grabs onto the entire shoulder girdle, both the collarbone and the shoulder blade. This incredibly widespread attachment, that's the secret to its amazing versatility. It can do so many different things.
Yeah, because it's so big, it really helps to think of the trapezius in three separate parts, and each part has a different job. The upper fibers, those let you shrug your shoulders up to your ears. The middle fibers, they pull your shoulder blades together, like when you're trying to stand up straight. And here's the really clever part. The upper and lower fibers work as a team to rotate your shoulder blade upwards. That rotation is what allows you to lift your arm all the way up over your head. It's brilliant. Now for the other giant at the back, the latissimus dorsi, or lats. This is a massive, flat muscle that starts way down in your lower back and just sweeps up to attach to your arm. It's the main muscle that gives swimmers and climbers that classic V-shaped torso. This muscle is just incredible. It's like a bridge between your lower body and your arm. Seriously, it originates from your lower spine, the top of your hip bone, even your lower ribs, and then all those fibers travel up to insert on your upper arm bone right near where the pec major attaches. Think about that for a second. It directly connects your hip to your arm. And what does that incredible connection let it do? Well, the lats are your body's #1 pulling engine. Every single time you do a pull-up, row a boat, or even pull start a lawnmower, you are firing up your lats.
And in swimming, it's a total powerhouse, working together with the pec major to propel you through the water. Okay, so now let's imagine we can peel back that huge trapezius muscle. Tucked away underneath it, we find this deeper layer of muscles that are all about one thing: controlling the shoulder blade. If the lats and traps are the big, powerful engines, these guys are the fine-tuners. As you can see from this table, all three of these muscles run from the spine out to the inner edge of your shoulder blade. The levator scapulae, well, the name kind of gives it away, right? It elevates the shoulder blade. And the rhomboids, they work to retract it. They're the muscles you squeeze to pull your shoulder blades together and stand up nice and straight. So we've seen the pushers on the chest and the pullers on the back. But the real magic here is that none of these muscles ever work in isolation. They all work together in this perfectly coordinated system. It's like a symphony of movement. Here's the whole system in a nutshell. On the front, you have the pectoral group. That's your push system, moving your arm forward. And on the back, you've got the lats and the traps, the pull system, moving your arm backward. They're perfect opposites. When one group contracts to make something happen, the other group has to relax and lengthen in a totally controlled way.
Just think about something as simple as reaching out for a cup. As you move forward, your chest muscles are contracting to push, but your back muscles are right there, lengthening and acting like brakes to control the movement. And the second you pull your arm back, the roles instantly reverse. It's this non-stop, beautifully coordinated dance between your front and back that allows for the incredible range and precision of every single arm movement you make.
This whole push-pull system is just one of the incredible symphonies that are playing out in your body all the time without you even thinking about it. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? As you go about your day, just think about the complex, silent coordination that's happening with every single move you make. What other hidden symphonies are at work, just waiting to be discovered? All right, let's get right into the shoulder. We tend to think of it as just a simple joint, but it's really so much more. It's like a finely tuned orchestra. So today, we're going to look at all the muscles that make this system work, not just as a list of parts, but as a team, a symphony, all working together. Really think about it. You go to raise your hand, wave at somebody. It feels like nothing, right? Totally effortless. But behind that one simple motion, there's this incredible, complex sequence of muscles firing in perfect order. So what's actually happening in there? Let's break it down. So first up, we have to talk about the heavyweight champion of the shoulder, the deltoid. This is that big, powerful muscle that gives your shoulder that rounded shape. And believe me, it is the main engine for a lot of the arm's biggest movements. So yeah, the textbook calls it a thick, triangular muscle, and that shape is totally on purpose. It's built for raw strength and incredible versatility. But here's the really cool part. What looks like one big muscle is actually a three-part machine. And this table just lays it all out. You've got the anterior fibers, right at the front, which let you lift your arm forward and turn it in. Then you have the posterior, or back fibers, and they do the complete opposite. They pull the arm back and rotate it out. And then, sandwiched between them, you have these super strong middle fibers. And their main gig is to lift your arms straight out to the side, specifically in that 15 to 90 degrees sweet spot. Okay, so if the deltoid is the big engine providing all that power, you can think of the rotator cuff as the precision steering system. This is a team of 4 smaller, deeper muscles, and they are absolutely essential for keeping the shoulder stable and letting you do all those fine-tuned rotational movements. And to help you remember the super important crew, there's a really great acronym, SITS. It's just a simple trick to keep track of the 4 muscles that make up this whole rotator cuff system. So let's meet the team. So the SITS acronym stands for supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. Now, each one has its own little job to do, but they all share one big collective mission.
And this right here is the whole point. Their number one job is to steady the head of the humerus in the glenoid cavity. Basically, just picture them forming a cuff that literally hugs the top of your arm bone, holding it tight inside that very shallow shoulder socket. Without these muscles constantly working, our shoulders would be unbelievably unstable.
Now, let's zoom in on just one member of the SITS crew for a second, the supraspinatus. So why this number? 15 degrees. Well, because this little muscle has a super specific vital role. It's the initiator. It is responsible for the very first 15 degrees of lifting your arm out to the side. It gets the ball rolling before the big, powerful deltoid can take over. Of course, the rotator in rotator cuff is there for a reason, and this shows you that perfect balancing act. Over on the left, you've got your outward rotators, the infraspinatus and teres minor, working as a team to turn your arm out. And then on the right, you've got the subscapularis pulling in the exact opposite direction to turn the arm inward. It's this beautiful, constant tug-of-war that gives us such amazing rotational control. But the symphony doesn't stop with the deltoid and the rotator cuff. Nope. There are other really important muscles in the area that are like an essential supporting cast. And if we ignored them, we'd be missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Okay, this is a classic mix-up, so let's clear the air right now. Teres minor and teres major. They sound almost the same, they're right next to each other, but they are very different players. As you can see, teres minor is in the rotator cuff club, and it rotates your arm out. Teres major, not in the club, and it does the opposite. It rotates the arm in. They don't even share the same nerve supply. It just goes to show how specific our anatomy really is. And then there's the serratus anterior. This muscle is a powerhouse. When you punch or push something, it pulls your whole shoulder blade forward. When you want to reach up high, it has to rotate that shoulder blade up and out of the way so you can get your arm overhead. And all the while, it's doing this third crucial job. It's basically gluing your scapula to your rib cage, giving you a rock-solid base to move from. Okay, so we've met the big power lifter, we've met the stability crew, and the essential supporting cast. So now, let's watch them all perform together. Let's see how that simple act of raising your arm actually plays out. And here it is, the whole performance step by step. It all starts with a supraspinatus, which kicks things off for just those first 15 degrees. Then the baton gets passed to the powerhouse, the middle deltoid, which hoists the arm up to shoulder height. That's about 90 degrees. But to go any higher, we need the supporting cast. The serratus anterior and the trapezius have to jump in and rotate the entire shoulder blade to allow for that full, final overhead reach. It's just a seamless, perfect collaboration. So you see, the shoulder isn't just a collection of muscles. It's this dynamic, intelligent system of power and precision checks and balances. And knowing how this whole symphony works isn't just for anatomy class. It's the key to moving better, to getting stronger, and to keeping yourself from getting injured. So the real question is, now that you know how brilliantly it's designed, what are you going to do to keep your orchestra playing in tune? All right. Let's talk about the incredible machinery that's working inside your upper arm right now. We're going to break down the muscles that power every single push, pull, and lift you do. It's a pretty amazing system, so let's just dive right in. I mean, have you ever really thought about it? When you lift something, it just feels like one smooth, simple motion. But what's actually happening under your skin is this super sophisticated, perfectly coordinated tug of war. So what's really going on in there? Well, the secret is all about organization. See, your arm isn't just one big lump of muscle. Nope. Instead, it's neatly divided into what we call compartments. The best way to picture it is like having two different teams, each with a very specific job, and they're separated by these tough, fibrous walls. First up, let's meet team number one. This is the crew in the anterior or front compartment. We'll call them the bending crew. And their main job, you guessed it, flexion. In other words, bending your arm at the elbow. Now this team has three key players. First, you've got the famous one, the biceps brachii. That's kind of the star of the show. Then there's the coracobrachialis, which helps out more with the shoulder. And then tucked away deep underneath is the brachialis. And trust me, that one is the real workhorse of elbow bending. The biceps brachii, yeah, it gets all the attention. And for good reason. The name biceps literally means two heads, which tells you a lot about how it's built. Now, it's great at flexing the elbow, for sure, but its real superpower is as a supinator. That's the muscle that lets you do things like turn a doorknob or twist a screwdriver, that motion where you turn your palm upwards. And here's where those two heads actually come from. It's pretty cool. They both start up on your scapula, your shoulder blade, but from two totally different spots. The short head latches onto this little hook-like part, while the long head has this really long tendon that actually travels right through the shoulder joint itself. Okay, let's just quickly define these terms because they're super important. The origin is the muscle's stable anchor point. Think of it as the part that stays still. The insertion is where the muscle attaches to the bone it's designed to pull on and move. So for the biceps, the origin's on the scapula, and it inserts down on your forearm. So here's the kicker. While the biceps gets all the fame, it's the brachialis, that muscle hiding just underneath it, that is the true primary mover for bending your elbow. It has one job, flex the elbow, and it does that job incredibly well, no matter how your hand is turned. It is absolutely the main flexor. All right, let's flip over to the other side of the arm. It's time to meet the rival team, the posterior or back compartment. This is your straightening crew, and their job is the exact opposite of the guys in the front. They're all about extension, straightening the arm. You know, if the biceps shows up with 2 heads, its opponent comes ready for a fight with 3. The triceps brachii is the only muscle in this posterior compartment, and those 3 heads give it an incredible amount of power. And here's the breakdown. The long head also starts on the scapula, but the other 2 heads anchor directly onto the humerus, the upper arm bone. Then they all come together into one massive, powerful tendon that attaches right onto the pointy part of your elbow. And get this whole team is controlled by a completely different nerve than the flexors, the radial nerve. So put simply, anytime you push something away, throw a ball, or just straighten your arm out, you are firing up your triceps. It is the powerful extensor of that elbow joint. Okay, so we've got these 2 opposing teams. One bends the arm, the other one straightens it. So how does this rivalry create smooth, controlled movement instead of just, a jerky mess?
Well, it really is like a controlled game of tug of war. For your arm to bend, the anterior team has to contract and pull. For it to straighten, the posterior team has to contract and pull. The whole trick is they can't both pull hard at the same time.
This perfect little partnership has a name. It's called an agonist and antagonist relationship. So when you do a bicep curl, your biceps is the agonist. It's the prime mover. At the exact same time, your triceps becomes the antagonist. It has to relax and lengthen to allow that movement to happen smoothly. This coordination is the entire secret to controlled motion. So let's take all this anatomy stuff and see how it actually applies to the things you do every single day, probably without even thinking about it. That coffee cup you lifted this morning, that's your anterior team, especially the brachialis, doing the heavy lifting. Pushing a heavy door open, your triceps is the powerhouse providing that extension force. And turning the doorknob to leave the house, yep, that's the biceps showing off its special twisting skill, that supination we talked about. And it all boils down to this perfectly simple organizational principle. The arm is divided into 2 compartments, an anterior or flexor one, and a posterior or extensor one. It's just a simple, elegant division of labor. 2 compartments, 2 opposite functions, creating one incredibly useful limb. So, the next time you pick something up or push something away, you'll know exactly which team is on the job. The real question is, which one are you going to thank first? The bending crew or the straightening crew?
Hello and welcome. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most incredible and honestly underappreciated parts of your body, the forearm. This is the real engine, the hidden powerhouse that gives your hands all their amazing skill and strength. I mean, really think about that for a second. The exact same group of muscles that lets a powerlifter deadlift hundreds of pounds also lets a watchmaker place a tiny screw. So how is that even possible? Well, the secret isn't actually in your hand, it's a little further up your arm. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the key to understanding your forearm is to stop picturing it as just a random bundle of muscles. That's not what's going on at all. Instead, I want you to imagine 2 distinct opposing teams. It's like a constant athletic contest, with Team Flexor on the front and Team Extensor on the back.
And this slide lays out the game plan perfectly. You've got Team Flexor, located on the front or anterior side. Their whole job is to pull things forward. Think bending your wrists, curling your fingers, making a tight fist. Now, Team Extensor, they're on the back, the posterior side, and they do the exact opposite. They're all about lifting the wrist and straightening out the fingers. Almost every single move your hand makes is a perfectly balanced negotiation between these 2 teams.
So, let's meet the starting lineup for Team Flexor. These are the muscles you feel pop when you pick up something heavy or when you grab a tennis racket. They are the absolute masters of gripping, bending, and pronation, which is just a fancy way of saying turning your palm to face down. So the most basic, fundamental action for Team Flexor is simply bending the wrist. And this seemingly simple motion is controlled by a fantastic duo of muscles working in perfect harmony. Meet the 2 stars of wrist bending, the flexor carpi radialis and the flexor carpi ulnaris. Okay, so the radialis bends your wrist and also pulls it a bit towards your thumb. The ulnaris also bends the wrist but pulls it towards your pinky. By firing just one or the other, or both at the same time, you get this incredibly precise, fine-tuned control over your wrist's every move.
All right,
Moving on from the wrist and getting into the real power players. The incredible strength of your grip comes from two amazing layered muscles that are responsible for curling your forefingers into a fist. This is just brilliant biological design. You have the superficialis, which, as its name suggests, is more on the surface. It bends the middle knuckles of your fingers. But for that really deep, powerful, crush-your-handshake kind of grip, you need the profundus, the deeper muscle. And check out the fun fact, because this is so cool. The tendons of the superficial muscle actually split in two, creating a little tunnel for the deeper tendons to pass right through to get to the fingertips. Oh, and of course, your thumb gets its own special muscle, the flexor pollicis longus, to give you that all-important ability to pinch.
So the last big job for Team Flexor is what we call pronation. That's just the action of turning your palm so it faces downward. Think about typing on a keyboard or pushing open a door. That's pronation.
And this move is handled by two specialists. You've got the pronator teres, the bigger one up near the elbow that provides the raw power for the rotation. But then, way down at the wrist, you have this small, square-shaped muscle called the pronator quadratus. It acts like a precision instrument, helping to fine-tune and complete the movement smoothly.
All right, we've met the gripping team. Now let's flip the forearm over and meet their rivals, Team Extensor. These are the muscles on the back that are in charge of every action that involves lifting, opening, and straightening. And, there's a funny character on this team, the brachioradialis. It's a big muscle in this group, but its main job is actually to help flex the elbow, which is usually a job for the other team. But for the most part, Team Extensor is all about opening things up. I mean, without them, you could grab things, sure, but you could never, ever let go.
Right, so just like Team Flexor had its wrist benders, you guessed it, Team Extensor has its lifters. These are the muscles that pull the back of your hand up towards the ceiling. It's a crucial first move for things like waving hello or reaching out to grab something.
Starting to look familiar? It should. These muscles are basically the mirror image of their counterparts on the flexor side. You have the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, that's a mouthful, which work together to lift and tilt your wrist toward your thumb. And then you have the extensor carpi ulnaris, which lifts and tilts it toward your pinky. They're the perfect counterbalance.
Now this is probably one of the most important jobs on the whole team, opening the hand. Releasing your grip is just as vital as making it, and it's mostly handled by one big, super efficient muscle. And here's the crazy thing about this design. It takes two powerful flexor muscles to curl your fingers, but it only takes one main muscle to open them back up, the extensor digitorum. This one muscle belly sends out 4 separate tendons, one to each finger, to pull them straight. Now, of course, the thumb is special. It gets its own dedicated extensor muscles. And a fun little party trick, when you give a big thumbs up, you can see the tendons of those thumb muscles pop up, and they form this little triangular dent at the base of your thumb. That's called the anatomical snuff box.
So to counter those pronator muscles that turn your palm down, Team Extensor has the supinator. And the absolute easiest way to remember what this muscle does is to think about holding a bowl of soup. To turn your palm up to hold that bowl, you have to supinate. That's this muscle's one big job.
Okay, so we've met the key players on both teams. But the real magic, the part that's truly mind-blowing, isn't what these muscles do by themselves. It's how they work together in this constant, silent, perfectly coordinated dance of contracting and relaxing.
Let's just break down a simple wave. It's like a 3-part symphony. First, Team Extensor fires up to lift your hand. Then, for the side-to-side waving motion, the wrist flexors and extensors on both sides have to contract and relax in this super rapid sequence. And finally, to stop waving, Team Flexor contracts to bring your hand back to a resting position. This is happening all the time for every little thing you do with your hands.
Now, all this incredible teamwork and coordination doesn't just happen. It needs a director. So if the muscles are the players on the field, then the nerves are the coaches, sending the precise signals from the brain to execute every single play perfectly.
And here are your head coaches. The radial nerve is the undisputed boss of Team Extensor. It controls pretty much every muscle on the back of your forearm. For Team Flexor, it's a bit of a coaching staff. The median nerve is the main play caller, but it gets some crucial help from the ulnar nerve. You can think of the ulnar nerve as the specialist coach, the one who works on your deep grip and the movements on the pinky side of your hand. So really, the big takeaway is this. The next time you pick up your coffee, type a text message, or just wave to a friend, take a second to remember this incredibly complex, silent conversation happening inside you. It is a beautifully orchestrated performance happening just beneath your skin 24/7.
Your forearm is just a masterclass in biological engineering. And once you know a little bit about how it works, it turns every simple action into something you can actually marvel at. So it makes you wonder, what other everyday miracles are our own bodies performing that we just completely take for granted? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.
Have you ever really stopped to think about your hands? I mean, really think about them. One moment, they can deliver a powerful punch, and the next, they're performing incredibly delicate surgery, or just, typing a quick text. They are an absolute marvel of engineering. So what's the secret? How can one part of our body be both a sledgehammer and a scalpel? Well, sure, the big muscles in your forearm provide the raw power, but the real magic, all the fine-tuned, delicate stuff, that happens somewhere else entirely. Yep, the answer is right there, inside your own palm. It's this hidden world of tiny, what we call intrinsic muscles. You should think of them as these highly specialized little teams, and each team has a super critical job to do. So, come on, let's meet the first team. We've got to start with the thing that makes our hands so special, that opposable thumb. And the powerhouse behind every move it makes is this group of muscles right here at the base, called the Thonar muscles.
First up is the abductor pollicis brevis. I know it sounds super complicated, but its job is simple. It just pulls your thumb away from your palm, kind of like you're about to give a thumbs up. Go on, try it. Lift your thumb straight out from your hand. That little bit of tension you feel, that's this muscle firing up.
Now meet its partner, the flexor pollicis brevis. It pretty much does the opposite. It flexes, or bends, the thumb at that big knuckle right at the base. This is the very first thing that happens when you start to grab something.
And now, for the start of the show, the opponent's pollicis. Honestly, you could argue this is the muscle that makes us human. It's responsible for opposition, that incredible ability to swing our thumb all the way across the palm to touch our other fingertips.
Come on, let's feel it working. Just touch your thumb to the tip of your pinky finger. See that fleshy part at the base of your thumb bunching up? That's it. That's the opponent's pollicis, the muscle that lets us hold tools with such amazing precision.
And last but not least for the thumb, we have the adductor pollicis. This guy is all about power. Once you've grabbed onto something, this is the muscle that locks it down, pulling your thumb in really tight to give you a super strong, secure pinch. Okay, now let's travel over to the other side of the palm. You feel that fleshy area just below your little finger? That's home to another whole team of muscles, the hypothenar muscles, and they give your pinky way more control than you'd think. And hey, just like the thumb, the little finger has its own abductor and flexor. The abductor digiti minimi pulls it away from your other fingers, and the flexor digiti minimi brevis, well, it bends it at the knuckle. Pretty straightforward.
And get this, the pinky has an opponent's muscle too. Now the opponent's digiti minimi doesn't swing the finger all the way across, but it does something just as important. It pulls the base of the little finger forward, which helps you cup your palm. That's essential for grabbing something round like a can or a ball.
Okay, here's a really weird one, the palmaris brevis. Now, unlike pretty much every other muscle we've talked about, this one attaches directly to the skin of your palm. So when it contracts, it actually wrinkles the skin, deepening the hollow of your hand to give you an even better grip. How cool is that?
All right, so we've met the power players for the thumb and the pinky. Now it's time to go deeper, to the muscles that live right between the bones. These are the ones responsible for all those really intricate, coordinated finger movements. So say hello to the four lumbricals. These guys are fascinating. For one, they don't even start on a bone. Nope, they actually grow right off the big tendons coming up from your forearm. And they do this really complex but familiar action. They bend your main knuckles while at the same time keeping your fingers straight. You know, like when you make a little puppet hand? That's all lumbricals.
If you want a really easy way to remember what the lumbricals and their buddies, the interossi, do, just think of this. They're the writing muscles. It's their combined action that puts your hand in that perfect, precise position to hold a pen.
And speaking of the interossei, there are two sets, and they do the exact opposite thing. Here's a brilliant little mnemonic to remember them. Just think pad for palmar adducts, they pull your fingers together, and dab for dorsal abducts, they spread your fingers apart. So pad to pack them in, dab to spread them out. Simple, right? So,
We have all these incredible muscle teams, right? Each one has a specific task, all working in perfect harmony. But who's giving the orders? Who's the conductor of this whole intricate orchestra? Well, the answer, of course, is the nerves.
And here is how it all gets wired up. The median nerve is basically the boss of the thumb team. The ulnar nerve, on the other hand, takes charge of the little finger team and almost all of those fine-tuning interossei muscles. The lumbricals are the only weirdos that split their duties between both nerves. It's this super clean division of labor that explains why a specific nerve injury can mess up very specific hand movements.
You know, the philosopher Aristotle figured this out thousands of years ago. He said, "The hand is the instrument of instruments." Our hands aren't just tools themselves. They're the tool that lets us create every other tool.
And he was absolutely right. Every skyscraper, every painting, every single piece of technology we have, it all started right here. It began with this hidden machinery of tiny muscles that let our ancestors grip a stone, shape a tool, and begin the journey of building, well, everything.
That exact same intricate, powerful, and ridiculously precise machinery is sitting in your palm right now. It's a direct link to all of human creation. So, I guess the only question left to ask is, what are you going to do with it?